Happiness is not always fun. Hello there, Nate Jackson, Criterion Collection reviewer guy, person of all places and peoples and things and movies and couscous. I've never had couscous. I don't even remember what couscous looks like or what it is. It's something that you eat. I don't know. Anyway, number 198. Rainer Werner Fassbinder's Ali, Fear Eats the Soul. Angst essen Sie auf. I like reading the German titles or the foreign titles just to make you think like I know what I'm talking about, you know. Anyway, 1974, 93 minutes. Yeah. So, and German, of course. This one wasn't too bad. Very tragic film. Very sad film. Very not the easiest to watch, but at the same time, still not bad. Let's talk about it a little bit. Let me tell you about this movie. So basically, Fassbinder was inspired by Douglas Sirk's All That Heaven Allows. It is sort of a bit of an update on the movie. It is basically about this. It's about this older lady, this widow named Emmy, who goes to a bar one night and orders a soda, and this Arab man, I think he's Arab, and his name is Ali, and this girl dares him to dance with her, and so he asks her to dance, and they dance together, and they strike up a bit of a friendship, and he walks her home, and they end up sleeping together, and they end up falling in love, and so what happens is they see a lot of each other, and the neighbors want nothing to do with her now because it's like because the fact that he's a foreigner, and they don't like that she's seeing this guy and all that, and it's really sad, but it's kind of a race issue, and I guess in German it was like weird, but anyway, yeah, so she ends up telling her daughter Krista and her son-in-law Eugene, who is played by Fassbinder himself, and they think she's just crazy. They don't know what she's talking about, And so she ends up, and so what happens is the landlady's son comes by and accuses her of, tells her Ali's got to go because you can't sublet your apartments. They think he's a lodger. But she says, no, we're going to get married. And he's like, oh, okay, then never mind. I'm sorry to bother you. And he's like, we're going to get married? And he's like, yeah, we're going to get married. He's like, well, why not? Why don't we get married? And he's like, oh, no. Oh, well, she says, well, first she denies it. Then he's like, yeah, sure, let's get married. And he's like, all right, let's get married. So they go to the courthouse to get married. And then she has to tell her sons and, her daughter, and they just totally just shut her out of her life. All of a sudden it's like, the guy, one of the sons kicks her TV in, and it's not a happy time. They're just not. I think it's not only the fact that he's much younger than her, but it's also the fact that he is he's from another country. It's a double-edged sword, I guess. This is one of those times when the words double-edged sword actually makes sense. And so I think so what happens next is they're getting ridiculed. Like, he tries to go to the shop next to where they live, and the owner doesn't want to sell to him. He doesn't want to sell to her because she married him and all that. So they decide to get away. And when they come back, like, I guess they all decide to just to live through it because they have their own agenda. And so what happens is when they come back, like, suddenly the owner's really nice to her because he needs business, and all his other customers are going to the supermarket, and the people who live in the apartment also want them to store things, and so they start talking to her again. And when they stop talking to her after they got married. And so this is a kind of a trippy little thing that I didn't pick up until later. Emmy like sees this, it takes this acceptance, and suddenly begins to change her mind about the way she feels about Ali. In that, not that she still loves him, but she starts to treat him as a little bit of an inferior. She starts to acknowledge the fact that he is a foreigner. She starts to side with the German mentality, that the foreigners are less than them. It kind of comes to a head when she invites her friends over, and she has them like feel Ali's muscles, and kind of shows him off a little bit. Ali gets upset with this, and he walks off, and he ends up going back to the owner of the bar where they met, because she can eat couscous, or she can make couscous rather, and he really wants it, and she refuses to make it for him. Emmy refuses to make it for him because it's not a German dish, and so Ali goes off to the bar woman. I think her name is Barbara, and she goes over to his place and to eat couscous, and they eventually sleep together. And so he comes back home, and is like this weird distancing. Like when he goes off, when she meets him at the shop he works at, they call him, they like call her grandmother and all that, and he doesn't do anything to defend her. He just he laughs at with them at first, and then he just stares at her. Basically, he just gives her the silent treatment. And so there's a lot of weird tension, and it seems like they're gonna break up. But eventually, Ali is at the bar. Emmy comes by and orders a soda, and it's like the movie restarts again. And he ends up seeing this, and he asks her to dance, and they kind of make up. And they say, "I'm sorry." He says, "I slept with someone else." He's like, "It's okay, I understand. It happens, yeah." And suddenly he ends up, collapsing on the floor and groaning really loudly. And so they call the ambulance, and they rush him off to the hospital, and they find out that he's got stomach ulcers, and they're caused due to stress. And I guess it's because of the fact that he has to deal with all this prejudice in where he lives. And so because of that, and because nobody else is really going to accept him, I guess the doctor says that they're going to keep coming back every 6 months or so. And so basically the movie ends with, Emmy by Ali's side and comforting him, and I guess they do stay together at the end. But it's a sad ending. It's a very, very tragic movie, and it's one of those, it shouldn't happen because, but at the same time, prejudice was alive, Definitely, I did not realize that prejudice was so, prevalent in Germany, back in the 70s. It's very sad to think about that. But it's a pretty interesting movie. I think Fassbender, his direction is really, really trippy. I think there's a lot of looking. There's a lot, which Todd Haynes, which he touches on that in his interview on the second disc. But there's a lot of there's a lot of silent scenes where Emmy and Ali look at each other, and what they're saying, even though you can't hear it. You can just read their faces. It's really, really cool. And there's a lot of there's a lot of framed shots. And when I say framed, I mean there's a lot of it's hard to explain. There's a lot of distance shots, where you see let's say this. Let's say that these, my hands are walls, and you'll see the character in a distance. In the one scene when Ali and Emmy are at a restaurant, and you see them eating, you see them sitting at the table, but you see them past this doorway, this arch, and you just see the sides of the screen are the walls. And then there's another scene where Emmy is looking through a doorway, and you see the walls, and it's a really interesting technique you see multiple times throughout the film. And you see this, and there's a silence too that's very interesting. So I quite enjoyed that, and I picked up on that. That was a really interesting technique that Fassbender applied. So not bad. And yeah, so that's all I got to say about it. What do I give this one? I give it an A. I give it an A. It was a really good movie. Prejudice was hard to watch, as it always is, seems to be. Of course, the harder stuff is on the second disc, but we'll get to that in a second. And not a bad film. Great direction. The relationship between Emmy and Ali was really, really interesting to watch, and and it was just did a great job. So, not really good. So it's a 2-disc set. So the first disc also has the trailer, but all the supplements are on the second disc. The first thing we'll talk about is Angst Esten Ziele auf, which is fear eats soul. I guess Angst essen is fear eats the soul, but Angst ist Ziele auf is fear eats soul. It's like it's grammatically incorrect, version of it. And it was a short film that was done, I think, in 2002. I forget the name of the director, but it stars Bridget Mira, who played Emmy in the movie. And it's kind of like an update on Fear Eats the Soul. And it's about this foreign guy. I think he's Moroccan, or Persian or something like that. And he's black. And it's all shot from his point of view, from the first person. And it shows him he plays this actor. He's this actor who is starring in a stage adaptation of Fear Eats the Soul. And he's walking in the subway, and he's attacked by these German Nazis. And the police arrest him after, the guy attacks the Nazi. And so they're sitting in the next thing we see is them sitting in the police car. And, the Nazi and the actor are sitting across from each other, and they want to start fighting, but the police are trying to hold them together. And, they're willing to let the actor press charges against him. But he ends up getting upset and walking off, and he's, even though he's really, he's been attacked and he's bleeding and all that. And so he goes to the show because he's going to be late. And so he goes to the show, and, he walks on stage, and the actress sitting at the table is, of course, Bridget Mira, who played Emmy. Her name's Bridget Mira, yeah. And so she ends up going, and they do the show, and you can see on her face that she realizes that the actor's been attacked. But they still go through the show, and later on they talk, and they realize, they say, oh, I didn't know you were attacked. And I think the movie actually starts up between them. They actually kind of had a little bit of a romantic moment. And so later on, they end up, I guess he gets, the actor gets really good reviews for it. And we see him on a train, and he ends up throwing these flowers out the window, and yeah, that's about it. So it's a little confusing, but it's also an interesting update on the story, and it's really cool to see Bridget Mira kind of semi-reprise her role as Emmy. So it's an interesting little adaptation of the story. And what else we got? There's an interview. It says an introduction by director Todd Haynes, but it's a long ass. It's just an interview with Todd Haynes. Todd Haynes is a director who did a movie in the early 2000s called Far From Heaven, which is a sort of combination of All That Heaven Allows and Ali Fear Eats the Soul, being the relationship, the widow aspect of it with the young widow aspect of it with the racial tensions of Ali Fear Eats the Soul. And he just talks about, Fassbender and how both movies influenced his own and all that. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. And there's 2 interviews with actress Bridget Mira, who at the time of this DVD was still alive. She was I think she was 93 when the interview was done. She died in 2005, 10 years ago. But I was just trying to think about that because she's really old, and I was like, gosh, she's still with us. And yeah, she was I think must have been 60. Yeah, she was 63 when she did Ali Fear Eats the Soul. So yeah, to know that she was still alive and she could remember all this stuff, it's a trip. And then there's edited, and then there's an interview with editor Thea Imens, and she just talks about editing and working with Fassbender and the film and all that. What else we got? And there's a 32-minute excerpt from the BBC, a BBC omnibus, which is a movie called Signs of Vigorous Life, New German Cinema, and it's a little mini documentary about the rise of German cinema in the late 60s, early 70s. Directors like Werner Herzog and Fassbinder and all that, and yeah, so it's interesting. But there's one little aspect that I don't understand about this one, and I wanted to bring this up, and I was watching it. At some point they bring up, God, I forget his name, Volker, yeah, but anyway, Wernoff, I think his name is. But anyway, yeah, before you see the thing, it says there's a little blurb that says clips from the films are replaced with stills to avoid because of copyright restrictions, which is like, okay, whatever, I guess that makes sense. They had to do that with Straw Dogs. They had to do that with that short film in My Life as a Dog. I guess Criterion didn't got that kind of money on them. But one point they start talking about, God, the guy, I forget his name, Werner, the guy who directed The Lost Honor of Katharina Bloom, and they talk about that movie, and they still have to replace the clips with the stills. And I thought, it's like, wait a minute, I thought Criterion owned the movie. I thought, maybe it went out of print quickly after the movie was done. I don't know. But I would think that, Criterion would be able to splice in clips from it if they kind of owned it, but maybe they lost the copyright by that point. I don't know. But it was really weird, and I was wondering why I was seeing stills of it when, I had just seen the movie like 2 or 3 months ago, like in the 170s or something like that. So that was weird. And I think the only other thing, which was probably one of the most interesting little things that they saved for last, is an excerpt from a movie that Fassbinder did in, I think, the 60s called The American Soldier, which features Margaret von Trotta, other co-director of Lost Honor of Katharina Bloom, and I guess this was back when she was an actor or actress. And it's a scene where this woman is sitting on a bed telling the story to this guy in a bed, and it's basically the story of Ali Fears the Soul. I guess Fassbinder says in a little blurb before the clip saying, I already told the story in this movie called The American Soldier. And it's basically von Trotta telling basically the entire story of Emmy and Ali, with one little difference. There's one little small difference. Emmy apparently is killed by Ali at the end of the film, and at the end of the story. And yeah, that's the one little difference that I'm sure that wouldn't have worked too well for Fassbinder, that he definitely did not want to happen in his own film. So it's kind of interesting. It's definitely actually probably the most interesting aspect of this whole movie is that he had already kind of set up the basis for it in an earlier film. So anyway, that's Ali Fears the Soul. Pretty cool. Check it out at least once. I mean, get your tissues ready if you're really sensitive, though. It is a tearjerker. It's kind of a sad story. So, but anyway, check it out. All right, so I knew that. So I apologize. I was supposed to do this yesterday, but something came up, and I decided to actually hold off and do Ali Fears the Soul today. Basically, I'm still waiting on The Honeymoon Killers, and I don't think it's going to come tomorrow, so I think that I'm going to have to do that one probably maybe Thursday or maybe next week, next Sunday, I don't know, but we'll see. But anyway, I'm still waiting on that one. I may end up doing it, I don't know. Well, I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I have to get it first and find out how many supplements and find out how much time I have. But anyway, so so I'm still waiting on that, which is why I decided to take yesterday off and work on that, just do it today. So, so the plan is, so I did that one. Tomorrow, for sure, we're going to do Schizopolis. We're definitely going to do this tomorrow. And, yes, and then maybe if the Honeymoon Killers comes in tomorrow. I'm going to run to the library and get it, and we'll do it Wednesday morning, and then we'll be done. Because this is number 199. Honeymoon Killers is 200. And then, boom. All we have left is I want to do a wrap-up video, and then I want to showcase my top 28. Because of weird, renewal restrictions at my library, I'm not going to be able to do the whole video in one sitting like I did with the first one. But I was lucky enough to do it all in the first one. So after this review, I'm going to start filming it. Like, I've got some of them are going to come in. I'm just going to do them all out of order and just edit it together, because I still don't even know the order. I don't know, like, I can't rank them right now. I have a feeling I know what my top 5, top 10 maybe will be, but I can't tell you, like, number 28, 27, 26. I have to look at them, look at the list and order them. So I've got to get started working on that. If I've got any of them, I will start, doing them in order. But right now I'm still waiting on a lot of them. I've basically got the list down. I don't know if Schizopolis or the Honeymoon Killers will be on the list, but if they are, then I'll have to work those in and cut another movie. But right now I got it down, whittled down to 30. So if I don't like Schizopolis or the Honeymoon Killers, then I've got my top 28. So I'll start filming, but I'll start filming some of these I know are going to be in. Some of the ones I have I know are going to be in it, and I wouldn't cut them for anything. But some of them are I was kind of iffy about, But anyway, so that's the plan. And yeah, so tomorrow's Schizopolis, then so hopefully sometime soon we'll do Honeymoon Killers, and then we'll be done. Wrap up, just give you some facts, and then the showdown, and then we're done for the season. Anyway, thank you for watching. That's it from me. Don't be a racist, and yeah, just don't be a racist. Be accepting to all races, because we're all basically the same, except it's what's up here that makes us different for the most part. I mean, and body weight, type and all that. I ain't got muscles like Ali, but anyway, but I'm working on that. Anyway, thank you for watching, and we will see you tomorrow for Schizopolis. And until then, goodbye.